My father disowned me and my 4 sisters. I took care of them till they grew up, but they were ungrateful and blamed the disowning on me. Hello, Reddit. I've been lurking here for a while, and after a lot of hesitation, I decided to share my story. Maybe it'll be a cathartic experience for me, or maybe someone will find a lesson in my misfortune. Anyway, here goes. My name is John. I'm 28 years old, and I'm from a small town in Slovakia. My life took a drastic turn when I was 18. Up until then, things were pretty normal. I had 4 younger sisters, Katarina, 16, Zuzana, 14, Milena, 12, and Veronica, 10. We were a tight-knit family, or so I thought. Our father, Marian, was strict but fair. Our mother, Eva, was the heart of the family, keeping us all together. Then, one day, everything changed. I came home from school to find my mother crying on the kitchen floor. Our father was packing his bags. The air was thick with tension, and I knew something terrible had happened. "Jan, sit down," my father said, not looking me in the eye. "Dad, what's going on?" I asked, my voice trembling. "I'm leaving," he replied bluntly, "and I'm taking the girls with me." I was stunned. "What? Why?" He didn't answer. Instead, he threw me a letter and walked out the door. I read the letter, and my world collapsed. My father had discovered that I wasn't his biological son. Apparently, my mother had an affair before they got married, and I was the result. He couldn't bear the sight of me anymore and decided to start over with my sisters. My mother, sobbing uncontrollably, tried to explain. "Jan, I never wanted this to happen. I love you like my own. Please, forgive me." But the damage was done. Our family was shattered. My father left with my sisters, and I was left to pick up the pieces of my broken life. The first few weeks after the disowning were a blur. My mother fell into a deep depression, barely able to function. I was angry, hurt, and confused. I had to drop out of school to take care of her and somehow keep our household running. I worked odd jobs around town, doing anything to make ends meet, cleaning houses, working at the local grocery store, even doing some labor work at construction sites. It was exhausting, but I didn't have a choice. My mother needed me, and I couldn't let her down. Months passed, and slowly my mother started to recover, but our relationship was never the same. There was always an unspoken tension between us, a reminder of the betrayal and the pain. I focused on my work and tried to rebuild my life, piece by piece. One day, out of the blue, I received a call from Katarina. She was crying and scared. "Jan, please help us. Dad's gone crazy. We don't know what to do." I rushed to their new home, and what I found was heartbreaking. My father had become a drunk, abusive, and neglectful. My sisters were living in squalor, barely getting by. I couldn't leave them there, not after everything we'd been through. I made a decision that day. I took my sisters back home with me. It wasn't easy, but I couldn't abandon them. They were my family, and I had to take care of them, no matter what. Having my sisters back with me was both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, I was relieved to have them safe and close. On the other hand, taking care of 4 young girls while trying to rebuild my own life was overwhelming. Katarina and Zuzana were old enough to understand the gravity of our situation, but Milena and Veronica struggled. They missed our father despite his flaws and couldn't comprehend why everything had changed. There were many nights filled with tears and questions I couldn't answer. Financially, we were in dire straits. My odd jobs weren't enough to support all of us. I had to get creative. I started working longer hours and picked up additional work whenever I could. I sold anything of value that we didn't absolutely need. It was a tough grind, but somehow we managed to scrape by. The hardest part was the resentment. My sisters, especially the younger ones, started to blame me for our situation. They couldn't understand why our father had left, and in their eyes, I was the one who had caused all the upheaval. "Jan, why did Dad leave us? Why can't we go back to our old life?" Veronica would ask, her big innocent eyes filled with confusion and pain. I don't know, Veronica, I would reply, my heart breaking a little more each time. Despite the difficulties, we slowly started to find a new rhythm. I made sure my sisters went to school, had food on the table, and a roof over their heads. It wasn't perfect, but it was the best I could do under the circumstances. Years passed, and my sisters grew up. Katerina and Zuzana finished high school and started looking into college. Milena and Veronica were becoming teenagers, each with their own set of challenges and dramas. I was proud of how far we had come, but the resentment never fully went away. Katerina especially had a hard time forgiving me. "You took us away from Dad," she would say. "You ruined our family." I tried to explain over and over that I had no choice, that I did what I thought was best for all of us. But she never fully accepted it. The tension between us grew, and it started to affect our relationship. Zuzana was more understanding. She tried to mediate between us, but it was an uphill battle. Milena and Veronica followed Katerina's lead, often siding with her in arguments and disputes. One day, things came to a head. Katerina and I had a huge fight. "You're not even our real brother," she screamed. "Why do you think you can control our lives?" Those words cut deep. I had dedicated my life to taking care of them, sacrificing my own dreams and aspirations. And yet, it seemed like none of it mattered. I was just the unwanted stepbrother, the one who had ruined everything. I tried to hold back my tears, but it was too much. "I did my best," I said, my voice trembling. "I'm sorry if it wasn't enough." Katerina stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Zuzana tried to comfort me, but the damage was done. Our family was fractured once again, this time by the very people I had fought so hard to protect. Now, as I write this, I'm still trying to come to terms with everything that has happened. My sisters are all grown up and living their own lives. Katerina moved away and rarely speaks to me. Zuzana is still in touch, but our relationship is strained. Milena and Veronica are distant, caught up in their own worlds. I often wonder if I made the right choices, if there was something more I could have done to keep our family together. The guilt and regret weigh heavily on me, but I try to remind myself that I did what I thought was best at the time. I've started to rebuild my own life, focusing on my career and personal goals. It's not easy, but it's a start. I'm still in touch with my mother, though our relationship remains complicated. We both carry the scars of the past, but we're trying to move forward. As for my father, I've heard he's remarried and has a new family. I don't harbor any ill will towards him anymore. I've come to terms with the fact that some things are beyond our control, and we have to make the best of what we have. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's the importance of resilience. Life can throw unimaginable challenges our way, but we have to keep pushing forward. We have to find the strength within ourselves to rise above the pain and build something better. Thank you for reading my story. I hope it resonates with someone out there. If you're going through a tough time, know that you're not alone. We all have our battles, and we can find the strength to overcome them.